We're the Gridiron Girls. You're in tune with the game.
It was an election night, and a lot of things went right, but there's still controversy with the big game looming. Did Michigan cheat? What did Jim Harbaugh know, and when did he know it? Hello again, everybody. I'm Karleigh Chardonnay-Webb.
I'm Chelsea Poe.
And I'm Shauna Atchison.
Welcome, everybody. This is the Gridiron Girls podcast. Let's get into it. Shauna, what's news to you?
What's new? Abortion and weed. Here in the state of Ohio, we did something great. It felt so good. It was really reassuring that issue 1, that is the abortion amendment to the Ohio Constitution, was like looking great all night. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, it was called so early. Like I had multiple group chats exploding in excitement. It was wonderful. You know, you just love to see reproductive rights get protected. And then, of course, issue 2, marijuana. And now so many, going to Michigan was a part of so many Ohio State fans' part, and now they no longer have to do that. And I think that was a great selling point.
Good, stay out.
If you look, the two biggest,
Hey, wait a minute, you wanted to annex Ohio a few weeks ago.
Stay out.
To be nice, to take, for a charity sort of thing.
Bringing it back to college, I love that the county, Athens County, which is where Ohio University is located, was abundantly for issue 2. Like they were the highest percentage county, and you love to see it. Good for you, college kids. So yeah, those are the biggest things. Ohio, you're okay for this week. So everyone.
Well, Chelsea, what's news to you?
So this never-ending story that is the Michigan, Ohio State, now Purdue's involved, and Rutgers is involved in this now as well. So every single week I'm like, this is gonna be the last time we're gonna talk about it. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna pass. It's no big deal. So today, Michigan was given notification by the Big Ten about punishment. That's going to be coming down during an active investigation, which to me personally doesn't make a lot of sense. If there's an active investigation, shouldn't you let the investigation reveal what is happening? Am I just being a Michigan home fan and over this, or does that make sense?
No, I think there's something to be said for that. I saw an argument made about how can you ban Michigan from the college football playoffs this year when you haven't completed the investigation. There will be plenty of time for punishment because they're probably very guilty. But
also take away our hardest games. We'll just claim a national title. It's fine.
Yes, but will the record books claim it? That's the important thing.
I mean, is it though? I'm okay.
No, it isn't. No, because at the end of the day, and I think that's something that's one of the great things about college football especially, is it's so partisan by nature in a way that the NFL feels a different kind of, because it's adults playing a game in a different kind of way. They're all getting paid and everyone travels and moves, but college is forever in a different kind of way, which is a great segue to a later segment. But
so we also learned this week, the Big Ten was notified by a former Big Ten coach. I'm assuming it's probably Mel Tucker, right? Or Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah, it was Mel Tucker who dropped dime. A lot of Michigan State people are dropping dime right now. They are dropping.
So he went to the Big Ten and said that Rutgers and Ohio State had information about Michigan's play calls and actually provided them with apparently the sheet that shows all of it. And apparently Ohio State and Rutgers fed it to Purdue before last year's Big Ten championship game because they're like, this will work. There's also something alleged. I don't know if it's actually real. It's alleged that that University of Michigan has the information of the PI firm that hacked the University of Michigan emails and is linked to Ryan Day's brothers who are involved with the PI firm. So I don't know how much of this is real, but this is amazing. Bo and Woody couldn't dream about this level of espionage and hatred and all this stuff. Like, I can't imagine what this game is going to be like in 3 weeks. No matter what happens, let's say each team loses the 2 games before, it's still going to be one of the biggest ones in this rivalry. And I think this whole scandal really proves that this game matters more than anything else. And I fucking love it.
I know somewhere Bo and Woody are both looking at themselves going look at what we've wrought. Because
they love it.
I'm sure
they love
like,
it.
like, these fucking idiots had to go get caught.
No.
Back in our day, we cheated with more style and aplomb than they could ever hope for.
Well, did you guys watch the HBO documentary called The Rivalry about Michigan and Ohio State?
Yes.
No.
The 10-year documentary.
Yeah. So there were multiple times where the others accused them of spying on each other, like renting out apartments and hotels that overlooked the practice facilities, because they assumed the other one was spying on them. So they like hired local police firms to get involved and stuff, and PI firms. So this has been a thing that happened then too. So if anything, this is like really kind of par for the course with the rivalry. Also, Michigan has had issues with the Big Ten in the past. I don't know if you guys know this. Michigan has left the Big Ten before. They left in like
the Big Ten.
Yeah, they did. And then they was like independent for a year or two, and then we're like, okay, we'll rejoin. So like that isn't unprecedented. It seems like we're Michigan president and just like everyone is really railing around Jim Harbaugh in the football program right now. It's really kind of contradictory to what I think a lot of people would assume with Michigan, where I think most people assumed, oh, it's kind of an academic school. We love football, but we're not going to like stand up against authority for it. And it doesn't seem like that's the case.
Well, what's news for me this week is it was in Europe. And Chelsea Poe is not the only thing in Europe right now. Chelsea coming to us.
I'm in Amsterdam right now.
Yeah, Chelsea's in Amsterdam, loving it.
Ik ben Chelsea Poe.
Recording of the Gridiron Girls. Normally it's like late, I'm like, relaxed, and now it's like the middle of the day in the afternoon.
Yeah, I know. Well, greetings and Max Verstappen to you. And just west of Amsterdam, we go to Paris. On Monday, we had Aflac We Play in Paris. Start women's basketball tip-off game. Number 1 South Carolina against Notre Dame. So
Notre Dame when they're in France.
Or excuse me, Notre Dame. And South Carolina dominant. Huge win, 171 win. Mylacia Full-Wiley, if you don't know who she is, trust me, you will. True freshman for South Carolina, 17 points, including the nastiest assist and one of the best shots of the day. These plays were so freaky. Magic Johnson was all over his Twitter saying how great this was. And on the other side for Notre Dame, the number 5 recruit in the last year's high school senior class, Hannah Hidalgo, 5th best college prospect ranked by ESPN.com. Her first game as a member of the Irish, 31 points. Not to be outdone, USC upsetting Ohio State in their opener, both top 10 teams. Juju Watkins had 32 in that win. And LSU, your defending national champion, opening the season, losing to number 20 Colorado.
The prime effect.
78. Now, one thing I want to note. Now, first off, Colorado was a good team, Sweet 16 team last year.
Mm-hmm.
But this is an example of the Dion effect. There's excitement everywhere in right now for a lot of sports. And You don't think Dion hasn't been a little bit of a catalyst for a little bit more school spirit? You got to be kidding. Oh, by the way, Dion's daughter rides the bench for that Colorado team. But this is going to be a great women's. I'm telling
Wait,
you,
he has a daughter on the team?
Yes, his daughter.
Oh, wow. He
His
has
daughter is on the University of Colorado
children all
women's
over the
basketball team.
Colorado program.
Now,
Wow.
one thing is, I could tell you, women's basketball is hot right now. I mean, just a month ago, you had an exhibition game in Iowa City that filled 57,000 seats at now Kinnick Stadium. Oh, by the way, Iowa opened against Fairleigh Dickinson, and Caitlin Clark, very efficient, like had 26, just doing what she do. But I'll tell you, women's college basketball has the stars. The stars are playing the women's game right now. And you're going to hear me say more of that. We're going to have more guests talking about more of that as we get through the season. But from what's news to us to the news of the week, and I want to start out with some news right up front. There's a certain person in Virginia named Danica Rome, first transgender legislator in the history of the state of Virginia, was elected to the House of Delegates. Well, on election day, she was elected to the state senate. She's the second transgender state senator in this country's history, just only outdone by a certain person in Delaware. But
Sarah McBride.
Yes,
Joe Biden.
Sarah McBride, aka Joe Biden's good friend. But Danica Rome getting elected. Congratulations, Senator-elect. And a night, like I said, we talked about the elections. Great day for elections. What happened in Ohio? The number of school boards that flipped because people just are sick of the Moms for Liberty, and a lot of other things.
It was just show that abortion, like trans issues, are not the winning issue, and that if they keep hurting it, they put so much effort in the one governorship that I saw that did not.
Kentucky. Brashear over Coleman in Kentucky.
Thank you, exactly. And so, even like at the end of the day, like it's the one argument I saw about Ohio is that, and I don't know that I entirely agree with it because there's so much geography that is very red, but it's not a red state, it's a rigged state because there's so much gerrymandering. It's always stacked against these legislators, and when the actual votes come to the people, see what happens. That people aren't these awful, cruel monsters looking to, beat trans people with a cudgel of legislature, and I think it's great to see.
Well, I agree with that because when people hear the real story, because like I said last week on the last call, most people who don't know, the people who don't know, and the people who do know really don't care. And I think you saw a lot of that. But what people do care about is when you have interlopers coming from outside your community telling your community what to do. For example, in Central Bucks County, Pennsylvania, where I was blessed to be this past weekend at the Queer Cuts Film Festival in New Hope, they had their school board elections, 5 open seats, and people who are opposed to the Moms for Liberty telling them what to do won all 5 and flipped control of their school board away from the right-wing ideologues and back into hands of sane people. But still, you get the vitriol. This thing in Massachusetts, this field hockey game, this whole field hockey flap where there's 2 teams playing in a playoff, and now there's a boy on one of the teams. Now, first off, there were no transgender kids anywhere near this. These are all cis kids.
I remember when you sent me that information, and you're like, yeah, there are no trans people involved. I was like, okay, so what happened? Because, like, I couldn't believe it because all the news stories, everything was like, and because, and this is what happens when, so much of trans people are demonized as a male in women's sports is taking over. And, like, they have this just awful perspective of, and then I'm like, wait, it's just a cis boy who is like, and again, it goes to show that you don't really need, like, all of this, like, hoopla. Like, it wasn't about trans women. So frustrating.
But people like Riley Gaines, they tried to sell this, and the Massachusetts Family Institute, and the Lions defending fascism. I mean, freedom. They said all those things. It was ridiculous. But the point is, here's the things about the story that they're not telling you in this game. Number one, first off, you don't want anyone hurt in the game. You'd rather not have injuries in the game, but this could happen. I live in New England. I watch field hockey. I watch college field hockey, watch high school field hockey, watch little kids playing field hockey. What happened to the young lady who had a couple teeth knocked out has happened. It happens in games.
For real.
It happens in games. A field hockey ball is hard and it hurt, and when it's shot with some velocity, it hurts. But this kid in question from Swampscott High School, boy who's been on the team for 4 years, has played field hockey since her freshman year. In fact, did some digging, found out this kid has played field hockey since they were in grade school. And that's what happens. We don't have unlike a lot of the world, like especially in Europe and in Asia, where field hockey is not seen it. Over here, it's a girls' sport. But in the rest of the world, it's an everybody sport.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, to those who don't believe it, the United States does have a men's national field hockey team. And if you look at the biographies, a lot of those players had to do what that young kid at Swampscott High School had to do. They had to play on a girls' team because there was no boys' team available to them. There was none. And that is state law in Massachusetts, part of their human rights law, which is also technically a piece of Title IX. Title IX, the gate does swing both ways. If you don't offer a boys' team, you got to give boys the opportunity to play on a girls' team, and vice versa. The gate swings both ways. It's rarely used, and that's also what gets me about this whole argument. Like, oh, he just wants to play. Really? You don't think that kid's getting a little bit of crap?
Also, what sport are you using for clout or to leverage, taking advantage of? Why field hockey?
Yeah, I'm one of the cool kids. I played field hockey and I'm a boy. I just did not really, is that really what you think that kids are saying in high school? Come on. But I think the thing that really bothers me is the whole I think there is now a very tangible argument for having some sort of hormone replacement therapy standard for trans women and girls competing in girls and women's sports. And
100%.
I think in instances like this, I think show that. But the problem is, for you were saying, the Riley Gaines of the world, they look at me and any cis man and they see the Spider-Man meme. They just see us pointing at each other like these.
They see the same thing.
And it's
also
bullshit. It's
I want someone
bullshit in practice. Yeah.
I want someone to give me his stat line and then teach me how to read a stat line for field hockey, because this whole debate that's any man can join any women's sports team and will be the best. I don't necessarily think that's true.
I will always think that is an inherently misogynist argument, because I think it is so discount. And again, my sport of choice, dodgeball, a large part of dodgeball is where men and women play together. And so I think the fact of the matter is, if you do see frequently men go against women, and I know many women who can throw much harder than a lot of cis men. And that is not a slight against the cis men, but everything towards the amazing athletes that are the women that I've been fortunate enough to play with and against in dodgeball.
And I've seen that in the sports I play, is that, you know what? If there's there's this advantage, scoreboard's not showing it. And that's what, and to me, I think as far as high schools go, if you're going to have these rules at the college level, you got to bring it down to. See, here's my feeling on it. You have to also bring those things down to the scholastic and the high school level. And I know that there are people on a lot of sides in the issue who would disagree with me, including some very prominent names who will. But here's my part.
We are not in the necessary. I don't think it's the minority opinion of trans people, but I think it's not necessarily. I think it is a potentially controversial place but also I think it goes to show how we do have an eye towards safety, how we do have an eye towards making sure that there is a sense of fairness and competitive equity, that those
But to
things
me,
are important to us as well. And I think that gets lost.
I don't want to get too deep into that, but I've
Sure.
always picked a phone with fairness, because to me, people misuse that word. To me, fairness
absolutely.
just means fairness ultimately means one thing to me. Are the field dimensions the same for everybody? Are the rules adjudicated the same for each player? If those things are there, then it's fair. After that, there's no such thing as fair. I mean, believe me, if you, for example, remember our guest we had a month ago. If I have to cover Anaya Booker one-on-one, I am at what the Bible calls an athletic disadvantage. She's fast, which means, but it's on me to figure out that gap some way. Once you get past the basic rules and the basic setup of the game, it's about what you bring to the table. It's about what your training is and your skills are. And otherwise, you really don't have a complaint. Just like a lot of people in track and field don't have a complaint about Caster Semenya. And Caster Semenya was on BBC Breakfast a couple days ago. Her book is out. I can't wait to read her book, because Caster just put it out there. For starters, Caster put out that, yes, I am intersex. That's the first time she said it.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people have hinted at it and opined about it. And my belief has always been, until she says it, we don't have a right to opine about it. Until she puts that business out there, she chooses to, we don't have a right to opine. Now she's put it out there. And as of course, people like Sharon Davies, there's a lot of whiteness involved in this. And
it's always white people. It's always us. We're always doing something not great.
No, but the thing about Caster, this goes back to when people say, well, and that what gets me is the people say, oh, Caster's a man. No, she's not.
That is the most frustrating. But I think that just goes to show how in poor faith all of these conversations are. Because at the end of the day, it's not really about fairness. Just as it's not really the fact that you can look at the Massachusetts school, the kid, and be like, oh, this is trans women's fault, and we're just over here like, what did I do?
And the kid's a cis kid.
Yeah,
but Chelsea, you were going to say something with this.
Yeah, I think it's just so ridiculous, because these same people who are going to call trans women, or even like non-binary intersex people, men and shit, they were calling Serena Williams a man. They're calling Brittany Griner a man. Like
Michelle Obama a man.
I'm a man. Like it. Well, there's also this whole part of Twitter.
Swift.
She's one of us. This is canon on the podcast.
Taylor, no, but that's
on anytime you want. It's true.
Everybody's
like it is almost like a thing where it's like part of being a woman athlete is if you're successful, everyone's going to call you a man, and it literally doesn't matter if you're trans or not.
Yes, but on another level with Caster, it's gotten ugly. And
of course,
there's a question I want to put out to everybody with their vitriol. What would your reaction be if the athlete in question, dealing with the things that Caster has dealt with, was, say, Laura Muir? Laura Muir is a Scottish middle distance runner. In fact, Caster and her runs the same events. She is a multi-time Commonwealth Games champion. She was second in the Olympics in Tokyo at 800 meters. She's an excellent runner. In fact, I'm a fan of Laura Muir. But if Laura Muir was the person we're talking about, how would the reactions be different from many of you throwing the vitriol at Caster Semenya? I want you to chew on that while we talk about the NWSL Championship game coming up tomorrow night. The OL Reign, Gotham FC, Megan Rapinoe, Ali Krieger, the best of a generation, one last time. And nothing else. This game's got some L-word subplots.
So many. Are you guys both aware of all of them? It's crazy. I show my partner and they're like, oh my God. So Ali Krieger and Ashlyn Harris, their life's a lesbian drama. They got divorced last year. And it is I alleged that she was cheating on her with Sophia Bush of One Tree Hill on our favorite sports network, the CW. And
ACC on the CW.
yeah, ACC on the CW. Nothing better. And she also owns a club in the league, Angel FC. So there's just like the levels of that drama. I can't imagine having to be not only in like the same sport and same circles as your ex. That sounds absolutely awful. I don't know how WNBA players do that, where they play their former former exes, or they're on the same team with an ex. I could not do that. Could you guys handle that?
That'd be rough. I mean, well, on the other side, will Sue Bird be sleeping on the couch?
That's hard.
Your wife
what would
plays
you do?
for the Oil Reign. You're a co-owner of the Gotham FC. Wow.
It's crazy. I guess I would.
But
for
one
my
thing,
partner.
prime time on CBS. All I can say is, I'm a little bit of. All I say to the people is, prime time, national network, watch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, watch. I like the fact that this is going to be in prime time. I like the fact that they're not doing what they did last year. They shuttled it off to it was like a breakfast game because because CBS just had to show Georgia against Mercer football. Because this is we're coming to the SEC lag week where they play like the cupcake team now before the big ugly games. But no, it's going to be great to see an NWSL championship game. I mean, these are the two lowest seeds to make a championship game. I mean, a 6 seed and a 4 seed in the playoff ladder, and they're now here for it. I'll admit it. I love me some Ali Krieger, but I'm rooting for Megan for have one more moment for the mistress. One more moment for this great maestro of this game.
I've never heard anyone call Megan Rapinoe the mistress.
Hey, I'll make you.
This is another subplot of this. I was like, oh.
Hey, no. Okay, now wait a minute. If I'm doing something different, I'll let you know.
All we can ask for.
I'll let you know when we come back to the Gridiron Girls. We're gonna go into the NFL and of course the NFL LGBTQIA, the league report, and there was some interesting stuff happening, including a losing streak ending. I can breathe a sigh of relief. I'm Karleigh. She's Chelsea. She's Shauna. We're the Gridiron Girls. We'll be back.
Something that I love about marathons is that everyone is celebrated, right? It's commonly understood that doing a marathon is a really difficult thing, and as much as we're fighting for, to different degrees, our right to be in the space, a lot of that does fall away when we're just out there running and doing it together. People don't have the time or the energy or the care to be thinking about who deserves to be there and who doesn't.
Cal Calamia, New York City Marathon champion.
Wow.
And you ought to see the smile on your face when you heard that. What was it like when you came to the finish and whoever it was told you, oh, Cal, by the way, non-binary division, you won it?
Right. Oh, just disbelief and pride and joy and relief. I feel like so much of leading up to this race, so much of what has been on my mind was I have to prove myself. I have to prove that I deserve to be here. I have to prove that I deserve to run. I have to prove that I'm not cheating. There's all this proving. And when I crossed that finish line and won this division, I thought, I believe there's nothing more to prove. Like, this speaks for itself. Like, you know, as much as people might want to keep trans folks out of sports, want to make sure that trans people aren't running or aren't, you know, having a microphone in this conversation in a sport that is obviously dominated by cis people. Oh well, like, you know, this is like an undeniable testament to the resilience of trans athletes, and to know that behind the scenes, trans athletes are often working double time to even show up to a space, but to also perform, to perform and to win is like, yeah, everything, every roadblock that everyone tried to put in the way wasn't enough to keep me from my sport and wasn't enough to keep me from excelling in my sport.
And we're back to the Gridiron Girls podcast. I'm Karleigh Webb along Chelsea Post, Shauna Atkinson, and it's time for the NFL GBTQIA plus league report. And I get to start off this week because the Cat Girls finally won a game. Yay! We won.
Is that your
Did
first
it.
win?
That's my first win in about. That's my second win overall, but it's my first win in 6 weeks. 6 long weeks. 6 long unsatisfying weeks. It's been bad, y'all. It's been bad.
You were definitely getting edged that one week, and then you thought you had it, and of course, right, you took defeat from the jaws of victory in that one. But we don't need to rehash that because this is a victory. This is a victory week for you, and I'm so happy.
It's a big deal.
And your team did great too. Like, let's not ignore that fact that you had a genuinely good week.
Yes, we did. I mean, overall, I'm just liking the. I mean, well, part of it is that first and foremost, Karleigh started the right people.
Always important.
I mean, started some good people, started some great people, and finally got our crap together. I mean, it just seems like we got our crap together, and that was the biggest thing. We got our crap together, and that's what I wanted. Is that we had some good play. I mean, Joe Burrow, he's back. CeeDee Lamb. I mean, last week, CeeDee Lamb had 42 points. 2 weeks ago, had 42 points, couldn't use him. 29.1 this week. He's actually kind of like, he's been off the schneid for 2 weeks. I'm liking this. Mm-hmm. And overall, this team's been great. Austin Eckler finally starting to see it. We're starting to see better from him at 21 points. He had 21. And Taysom Hill had 20. And you had Adam Thielen had an off week. Only had 7.9 points. But overall, I like what this team did.
Yeah, this is not none of our teams are championship. But like the thing
I am not willing to write my team off. We are 3 games.
I'm not willing to write my team off either, folks. I'm not willing to go there yet. I mean, I
left my team and moved to the desert a week ago, and I said, y'all just go on the plane without me.
Because overall, I'm looking at my teams like, we're not out of this yet. We're not out of this yet. If we get this type of production if we finally get the production that we should be getting from some of the people that we're hoping to get it from, we may not be dead yet. And I refuse to believe that we are dead yet. I just refuse. I refuse to give up just yet. I refuse to just like give. That's surrender has never been in my creed.
Spoiler. I think you always have to try and improve your team until you're literally like, unless like once you're in like the consolation bracket of the playoffs, then you're just trying to fill out a roster. But like until then, you're always trying to play spoiler.
See, now that's something I didn't know. Wait a minute, consolation bracket?
Yeah, so the way that it's currently set up, and I'm not sure, because I feel like with 12 teams, I think more than 4 should make it, but I might propose that to the league. Like, just see, like, because I just have whatever the default was set up, I didn't look at it. And I was
Wait,
like,
are you in control of it?
technically, yeah. But
This is like
I wouldn't do it. I'm in control, but I wouldn't change it like unilaterally. Like that's not like this isn't a fantasy tatership. Like you're.
A fantasy tatership.
I'm just saying. Remember the year where they're like, you have to win 6 games to be in the Big Ten championship, and then Ohio State talked to someone, and they're like, "Never mind." And then we got into
by the way, that was the year that Northwestern got screwed. Hashtag just saying. We got
so crazy to me. Northwestern was in that game.
Yeah, I know. You still to this day cannot believe that Northwestern was in a Big 12 championship, Big 10 championship
in the 20s, the 2020s.
Well, guess what? It happened. We play a little football in Evanston. Of course, we didn't play. I mean, of course, we didn't get done what I said we'd get done last week. And later in this show, you're going to find out how much that cost me. That Northwestern lost that very tough loss to Iowa. But I digress. Chelsea, you went through what I went through last week.
Yeah, it sucked.
I mean,
watching the group chat go, and you're like, "Ooh, 6 minutes, 4 minutes." Fuck.
Yeah, so I was at an airport lounge drinking rosé and just being like, "It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be
rosé. Okay,
it was sparkling rosé, so if I'm going to an airport lounge, I'm getting my values worth, obviously. So
Facts.
Yeah, it started going bad. I think I was literally on the plane and I refreshed my phone like one last time, and I was down by a point. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense.
Meanwhile, I'm living in so you're playing my girlfriend, and so I'm obviously living with her, and so we're like, okay, and she's going, and she's nervous. She's like, my chances of winning, I'm at 70%. Now it's only at 60% chance of winning. I don't know. And she's just fretting throughout this whole game.
What was the final? Oh my god, I didn't realize it was that close.
Yeah, are you kidding me? It is so close.
Yeah,
I should have started someone else. Wait,
you lost by less than a point.
Ugh.
Yeah, it was that much, and it was a last catch by Garrett Wilson is what did it. That put it over the top. That he got in the last minute.
There was that last catch did it, but I mean Mahomes had 15, big, but the Chiefs got that win that they needed over in Frankfurt.
I mean, I'm glad I was able to abandon my team a week ago, leave them, and then they proved me right. So it's not my fault. It's on them now.
No, but still, it was that. I mean, it was a razor thin margin. I know it's tough to lose by these razor thin margins, but one interesting thing is just some of the decisions you may need to make, because Jahan Dotson, that's a possibility. You may have to roll him out there. Because believe me, I may have to roll Sam Howell out there at some point.
It's fine. I mean, if I can beat you next and win between our group, that's a successful season. So
is that what our next game? Is that the next game?
Is it the next game?
You two are playing each other game.
Oh wow!
Is that our next game? I mean, I've got Sasha Gray Pride this week.
And I'm playing. I got to avenge Chelsea because I'm playing my girlfriend Kelly's team, and it's going to be a very good game.
Well, I'll tell you what. That's going to be one series. I mean, that's going to be quite the matchup.
I've got
nothing else.
Kelly's riding a 6-game win streak.
And, oh my god!
Yeah, her team's been rolling. bowling, and I'm hearing about it. So I kind of want to put a stop to this.
So
I want my win. I have a 3-game win streak, so one of our win streaks is going to go, and so I hope it's hers because you know what? I need the win more than she does because I'm still struggling. I want to get to 500.
So in the Sue Bird conundrum, you would choose the team you own, not your partner's team.
the Sue Bird let's take a look at this because hey, since this is gonna be the Shauna Bowl, let's take a look at the Shauna Bowl.
Yeah, she has to make some changes to her lineup because
this is Shauna. Here's the Shauna Bowl right now.
I was already on my shit. Who does she have in her backup spot?
We're gonna take a look. This is the Shauna Bowl. I mean, this is gonna be close. I mean, my Chemical Throwmance at 7-2 against Roses at 4-5.
Thanks for reminding me though that this league originated during like COVID, and that's why Deshaun Pfizer and Duke Johnson & Johnson are the divisions.
So what's the trophy? So does that mean it was the Moderna trophy if you win the league?
Gosh, I don't know what the trophy was. I have to come up with a good pun.
Well, either way though. And look at this. You're going with Baker Mayfield.
Currently, yes, because it's either going to be him or Jared Goff, because I don't trust Kyler Murray in his first game back. But honestly, Baker's been pretty solid fantasy football-wise. Like, very mediocre in real life. But you know what? He's had 16, 21, and 19 his last 3 games. I'll take it.
Well,
yeah, he's the 16th best quarterback. Jared Goff is the 12th best quarterback this year. So you know what? I've made up for my 2 crap-ass quarterback decisions, and Daniel Jones, rest in peace, his leg, and Deshaun Watson, rest in peace, his dignity. So, you know, it works out.
Your quarterback room's been very interesting this year.
Yeah,
it has been. I mean,
and if I get
sometimes toxic.
Could be.
It's been
could be worse. You could have Kenny Pickett.
I could. That's make a deal. I feel like this is like the fantasy football post that I put in our chat where like, okay, I get Kenny. You can't just get Kenny Pickett. There's like literally no fantasy football equivalent. Like literally, like I wouldn't spend a free roster spot on him. Because what is his ranking in quarterback fantasy this year? I have to know. Acquiring minds.
I can find that out for you since he is one of my 3 quarterbacks that I have. Yes, I have 3 quarterbacks.
I feel like if you keep being this positive about him, if you keep being this positive about Kenny Pickett, he might slide into your DMs.
You are more positive than his mom, which is really
Kenny Pickett 100%. is right now it was number 3 for the week. I think he was number 3. Kenny Pickett right now is the number 26 quarterback in fantasy.
You have the 7th quarterback in fantasy. You should trade Howell to someone who needs a quarterback.
I have Burrow who's 19. I have Sam Howell who's 7. And Sam Howell's had some great games. And Sam Howell could easily be. I mean, Sam. I'll put it out there. If you want Sam Howell, we can talk. But to do it, you got to give me a good running back. I'll say it. Sam Howell, and
Devontae Williams.
No, I said a good running back.
Well, let's look at him. Let's look at him.
I mean I need a front line running back. I don't need.
Okay. I'll tell you what.
Instead
of giving you a front line running back, I'll take Kenny Pickett.
Do you want Raheem Mostert? I'll take Sam. So I want Kenny Pickett and Cash.
Kenny Pickett and Cash.
Cash considerations.
Cash considerations. Well, maybe. You know what? We'll talk about that deal because I'm not going to adjudicate that in the press.
No. I think we should have our trade talks here. I think this is how we work it out. I'll be like, I think Kelly's coming home.
I'm not going to work out the trade in the media. We're not going to do it in the media. No. Not
Yeah,
going to
I
do
think
that.
if you expressed your dissatisfaction with Kenny Pickett, it might inspire him because you've been such his biggest fan that if you actually said something
Well,
negative
Kenny
about him, you'd
Pickett,
be like,
Kenny
holy
Pickett
shit, I need to have Karleigh
in
as
real
my
life
dad.
football. In real life football, he's my quarterback. I'm a Steelers fan. I've been a Steelers fan since 1976, y'all. I can't go against my quarterback, even if my quarterback was Mark Malone. Much maligned Mark Malone. I'm never forsaking a Steeler quarterback.
I'm gonna
Never.
get Kenny Pickett, and I'm just gonna have him do his fake slide thing at practice for like entertainment for everyone. He's not gonna like play at all, but
But
he'll just like
quickly
do that,
looking
and we'll
at
be like, "That's fun."
but quickly looking at real football, Shauna, what do you got? What do you got in terms of the NFL this week as we head into we're heading into the stretch now.
And we have an AFC North showdown between the Browns and the Ravens. The Ravens wrecked the Browns in their last game, but I have a feeling that it might be different this time around. I've long thought that the Browns have the linebackers to contain Lamar Jackson, and I think it'll be a really interesting game to see,
Well,
especially as their secondary is truly coming into its own. Martin
you got
Emerson and
that
Denzel
beast.
Ward.
Oh yeah, but you
And
got that beast. You got Myles Garrett. You got the beast.
and Myles Garrett is just amazing, ridiculous. He jumped over a grown ass man during a football game, which is ludicrous anthems. Like,
Yeah,
it's
he's.
nuts. Like,
I mean, that's a game right there. And
okay.
when I look at that game, I mean, another game I think is going to be a good surprising game. Jaguars 49ers.
I was just going to say I'm really looking forward to that one. I think it'll be a really exciting matchup, like against two very like obviously I think if the 49ers need a win here because if they let another like upstart team like the Jaguars get one on them, suddenly that'll be their fourth loss. And I think I think they're going to be really hurting without that.
The interesting is 3 of the best teams in this league bye weeks.
Mhm.
Chiefs, Dolphins, Eagles. The Chiefs showed maybe they're the best team in the AFC right now with that win last week, with a gritty win on the Dolphins. Slowed the Dolphins down. I mean, this is good. The AFC right now is a very interesting. Now both conferences tighten up again, and again, it goes back to what we've been talking about the last few weeks. Ultimately, it comes to this is what the NFL wants. They want parity, and they got it.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a parity.
Every AFC North team would be making the playoffs if the playoffs ended today. That's ridiculous.
That's wild. Even the Steelers making the playoffs.
Even the Steelers and Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett's making the quarterback, and not in like they're giving him a like trial offer. It's actually legitimate.
They sent him the disc in the mail.
Yeah, like oh my gosh, like he's got like the AOL playoffs. Like yeah, like
but you know what? You've got hope. And we still do, even with Kenny Pickett.
Hey, you know what? As long as Mike Tomlin's your coach, I think there's always going to be hope in Steeltown. That he is just a coach.
He's a great coach, and
he really is. I'll give Kenny Pickett shit, and deservedly so. But I will always give credit where credit's due. And I think that there's so much potential in that offense with like if Najee Harris can return to form. Deontay Johnson and Pickens are a great 1-2 combination of wide receiver.
We're gonna need it because the weather's getting colder, but college football's heating up, and that's where we're going next here at the Gridiron Girls. Who is right now? 13 teams left who have a playoff chance. Who's in? Who's out? We're gonna talk about it, and we'll have the fun fact. I'm Karleigh. She's Chelsea. She's Shauna. We're the Gridiron Girls. Stay with us. Are you looking to be a part of this picture? Are you looking to take the handoff, catch the pass, break free? Are you looking to make a play on the ball and take it all the way back to the house? Are you looking for a team? Are you looking for a sisterhood? If you're looking for that, Reapers Women's Football is looking for you. And we have a tryout camp coming up. Saturday, November 18th, 10 a.m., Rogers Park in the Perry Turf Field, 100 Memorial Drive, Danbury, Connecticut. If you're 16 or older, whether you've played before or have never played before, it doesn't matter. We're looking for you to be a part of us and join us for the 2024 season. Reapers Women's Football. It's not just football, it's family.
This guy can play.
His accuracy is something that you can't
Michael Penix's Heisman resume just looks better and better.
Michael Penix lets that ball go from his own 35 and throws it on an absolute dart string. And Michael Penix would be my Heisman Trophy winner.
We came to put it on the board, bro.
And it is fun to watch.
It's a blast.
One of the best offenses in college football. Why? Because they got one of the best quarterbacks in college
Toward
football.
the end zone. What a throw!
This guy's making throws that are it's just ridiculous.
Are you kidding me? Penix Jr. just dropping the football on a dime.
Michael Penix Jr. only threw the ball 60 yards off his back foot there with somebody in his face. No big
I've
deal.
been telling you since the summer that Michael Penix is a great Heisman candidate.
Penix looking left side.
Keep your eye on the lefty from Washington, Michael Penix. He throws as pretty a ball as any quarterback in college football.
You think they're going to let their foot off the gas pedal? How about that throw?
Gosh, that ball just drops in beautifully over the top.
Penix Jr. is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's going to throw it downfield, and he hits Polk.
Man, is that a beauty? Rip it down the field, Michael Penix. And Michael Penix trying to make that Heisman resume.
And we're back to the Gridiron Girls talking some college football. Karleigh Webb, Chelsea Poe, Shauna Atkinson. And before we get going, though, it's time for the college football fun fact. Chelsea, what it is this week?
Okay, so as you know, Michigan opens its season this week against Penn State. It's the first serious game Michigan has. I'm really glad it works out time-wise. It starts at 6 p.m. here, which is super doable. So they're playing Penn State this week. Can one of you name Penn State's original school colors?
Penn State's original school colors.
Well, because, let's see. Is blue one of them still?
No.
I would say black and white because they've always
I
been.
would say brown, for some reason.
Okay, it's black and pink.
Black
The
and
only-
pink.
Yes. So there's actually a remainder of this still in their stadium. In their student section, whenever there's the S in one of the end zones, that's pink and black. So that was originally their colors, but over time, some of their equipment they had in those colors faded to a blue and a white. That's why they now use navy blue and white. Craziest thing, right? Who would have thought that Penn State would have pink as a primary color, especially a school that seems so traditionalist?
I mean, but then again, they had pink when they started their sports teams. It was 1887, so palette was a lot different then.
Pink was probably a boys' color back then.
It was probably
I
masculine.
mean,
It was it was the masculine pink.
I think they should bring it back for a day or two a year. I mean, if
They
we're going to
have
do
done it.
Why not Penn
they
State?
they have done it. They
For
did
football,
a few
though?
years ago for football. Yes, they did a few
Oh,
years
really?
ago.
Wow, you're
Yeah,
a fun fact
they
right
did
back
it for
at me.
football. Yeah, they did it for football a few years ago, and so they've been doing the pink. I mean, who knows? I mean, it's interesting to see because when you think, like you said, they're so traditionalist, but you can, in some ways, you can throw tradition out of the window these days because everything is about the playoff. And Chelsea, you say 13 teams can still get in it.
Okay, let me
13.
pull up my playoff eligibility list. So how I created this list was any Power 5 teams with 1 loss or group
Or
of
any
5 teams
unbeaten
with
team.
0 losses. Yes.
Okay.
Or
So-
lacking in any scandal. Or is that not a requirement for this list?
I mean, I said this before we even started talking. Don't let us get into the playoff okay, I'm gonna get my national title banner and t-shirt. I'm fine. We did it. Everyone's scared. It's okay. So group of 5, we have Liberty and James Madison. So James Madison can't even make a bowl right now. They have to actually file the NCAA to be allowed in because they're only 2 years in. Which is also ridiculous because why are you punishing a team that is bowl eligible or should be bowl eligible because of safety issues for them? That just doesn't really add up to me. And then as far as Power 5 schools, we have Florida State, Louisville for the ACC. For the Big 12, we just have Texas left. For the Big 10, we have Michigan, Ohio State, and possibly Penn State, depending on how this next weekend will go. We have Washington, who's undefeated in the Pac-12 with 1 loss, Oregon. And then the SEC, the only unbeaten left is Georgia. After they completely dominated Mizzou this last week, which I was hoping that upset was going to happen. I kept refreshing the score. I'm like, maybe, come on, Mizzou. Did not work out. And then there's 1 loss Alabama and 1 loss Ole Miss. So those are the 13 teams. I'm assuming we're not going to see a Big 12 1-loss team in there. I just can't. I don't think Texas is going to get through everything. I think Florida State's probably going to go. I think you're going to get 1, possibly 2 teams from the Big 10 again. And then I think you're probably going to get the SEC champ.
I think it's still going to be very much wide open in this. Right now, there's still, to me, it's still too much football, but I know this much as we saw coming off the break, the Heisman campaign. I still think Washington will find a way in there.
You know, that Big Ten
Washington will get
really hard to argue with. He brings a certain something.
I'll
big
tell you what,
Phoenix energy.
But another thing is the last time Washington won a national championship, quarterback was left-handed. Certain guy named Mark Brunell, he's a pretty good one.
You know, when the Browns left, he's the reason why I briefly rooted for the Jaguars in the mid-90s. Because I was like, I don't know what team to root. I was just coming into my football own, and I was like, what? Now the Browns are gone. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to go with this expansion team. They don't have any history. They've got cool colors and a left-handed quarterback. Because I'm a southpaw myself.
Now, as far as the James Madison issue goes, I do want to mention this real quick. That is an unfortunate byproduct of the NCAA rule when you move divisions. That is an unfortunate byproduct. It sucks, but James Madison knew what they were doing when they decided to go from FCS to FBS, and I think that they should revisit that rule. I feel James Madison has earned the right at least to a lower tier bowl game, but a shot at the college football playoff, no. And no on Liberty either. I understand that people say they're unbeaten, but look at that schedule. No.
Are you okay with them claiming a national title if they go undefeated?
No.
See, I consider UCF a national champion. I don't know why I'm laughing when I'm saying that.
I see it like this. This is why, again, you have to have a playoff system where every conference can have a team in it. And the only way you're going to get that is you need a 16 or 24 team bowl-based playoff. You cannot do it with 12 because that's still open. You need a way to where every college conference can have an automatic bid because the Power 5 runs this. And that's what it is. But at the same time, those teams have to realize you either got to beef up your schedule or you got to play the Power 5 and you have to beat them. That's what Cincinnati did. That's what Cincinnati did. They beat them. They went out, played Power 5 teams, beat Power 5 teams, put themselves in a position where they were unbeaten at the end of the regular season, but you couldn't keep them out. The team who I felt was the most worthy was Air Force. They went out and got whacked by Army.
Yep. Completely dominated. I still don't know what to make of that.
Well, I do when two teams who know how to play each other, when the service academies get together, throw the records out the window. They know how to play each other and there's pride involved. as far as the national championship goes, I can't say, but I will say, but I know one team who I think is going to sneak in it. I'll call this now. Alabama's going to weasel their way into this. They're going to find a way to get in this, and they've snuck up on everybody. I think the two best teams, in my mind, the two most intriguing teams, and the two teams you don't want if you're one of these teams in that top four on the outside looking in, Oregon and Alabama. Because I'll tell you, if I'm Washington, even though as much as I like Washington, I think they should get in the playoffs. If there's a Pac-12 rematch against Oregon, oh my God, that's going to be a ball game. That will be a game. Now, one team is Michigan. Are they the villains in best? I mean...
So, we're in our reputation era right now. That's our vibe. We don't trust anyone. They don't trust us. No, she's all of football now. Excuse me. It's her sport. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I know this is a great team this year. This might be one of the best Michigan teams of my life. Like, even if the season ends tomorrow or they even lose out the rest of the year, this is still a better than average Michigan season. Like, I can't really complain. I mean, during like the Rich Rod days where they were winning 3 games a year and everything was just terrible, like I was watching all those games completely being there as a fan. So that they're this good, no matter what comes out of it, it's been really good the last 3 years. Like, no complaints.
Well, I can tell you what, I'm not sure what punishment that they're going to come up with. Personally, I don't think, my personal feeling is I don't think the punishment should be that. I think the punishment should fit the crime. And really, what crime are we talking about here? We're talking about signals can be changed in 1 minute. I mean, signals can be changed in a heartbeat. A signal can be changed in a minute. You could be giving somebody false signals. This is like that thing where somebody brings the playbook. How much value is it really?
Yeah.
I mean, really, how much value is it?
No, you have to absolutely still beat it on the field. And I think there's a very fair point. Like, if you know what and I think that's like, if you look at most of the playoffs in most sports, it's like, I know what you're doing. You know what I want to do. We got to see who could execute better and actually stop the other person and the other team. And I think that's the more important thing.
No, that's my feeling on it. I just say, I just say, let's put it what it is, but I don't believe Michigan should have to vacate wins. I don't buy that. If they go through, yeah, you can. I mean, the Houston Astros did worse. And
I mean, like, the vacating wins thing doesn't really matter. Like, it doesn't really matter.
People know, but quickly, Heisman watch. It's JJ, Penix Jr., Bo Nix, and these next 3 weeks are going to tell us tale. I think this will be I still believe it'll be it may even be the closest 3-way Heisman vote ever. I think that's how razor thin it's going to be.
I mean, if Penix can get them to the playoff, it's going to be him. Bo Nix would have to win out as well. But even with that, it's like they still lost at Washington. If JJ wins the Heisman, I think he'd be the first Michigan quarterback to win the Heisman. And during this year and this scandal, that would be the craziest thing. And I think it would make everyone freak out in sports media right now. Is they're already over this whole scandal. So I don't know. I would assume it's probably Penix.
Now, there was far below the pageantry and the grandeur of the FBS, there was an important game. In fact, I mean, we've had a few like bowl games that we've had at least one bowl game this season. We had the Karleigh Bowl, but there was also the Shauna Bowl last weekend. Shauna Bowl happened last weekend. It was Allegheny against Case Western, and for the most part, it was not the greatest game, but you guys did have a moment. We're going to put it here. and we're going to put it right here. Second quarter, 8:51 left. Case Western's up 14-0. Jack Johnson at quarterback. And Jack found somebody on the go route. Found a certain Declan O'Brien. And look at him. Look at him.
Today I learned Case Western Reserve University has a football team, so that's neat.
I didn't know Case Western
95 yards.
Oh yeah, it's a very good college. It's actually it's right by me. It's very good. Like I have a bunch of friends who actually work there. Like because it's like that kind of yeah.
This is some Division III football at its best. Unfortunately, it was one of the few good moments for Allegheny because Case Western 42, Allegheny 14.
Did I mention I never saw a football game when I went to college there? I don't know what made me think of that, but I never ended up going. I saw many of my high school.
But there's one thing I do want to know because you said you were picking a team. So we got to hear the story. Pick a team. Who did you pick? You're picking a favorite college football team.
Well, that's just it. I don't have an answer. I've been thinking about it, and I've been listening to us talk about, all of the different teams, and you're like, even when you're like, oh, and here's the Shauna Bowl, and I'm just like, meh, because at the end of the day, my college was not based around college football. It was based. If you brought footage of the Allegheny Halo team, that was my shit in college. However,
which team?
I see.
The Halo.
Oh, all right.
Master Chief, first person shooter.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was actually the founder of the Legion of Allegheny Gamers, or LAG, because we had terrible internet, so it was a funny joke for us. And so I started a video game club. And my school would actually give money to these tournaments for the winner, but every time it would just be me and my 4 friends winning because we were very good at Halo. And so we basically just threw tournaments for ourselves to win money, and the school bought us pizza for the night. It was amazing. But I digress.
Well, wait a minute. You started that. Wait a minute. You started this?
Absolutely. I was the the founding president, and I actually got us a special interest house. Even I went
what? I can't believe what you founded is still around.
Is this
that was so cool?
Yeah, the Legion.
Do you just go back and you're like?
And it started at my leadership. Yeah.
Do you go back and you're like?
No, I've never gone back. I always mean to with one of my friends, and we always talk about it.
Well, we're gonna
going and visiting.
Well, we're gonna make this happen. The president of LAG right now, Brandon Alexander. If you're watching it, in fact, we're gonna send it to you. You need to have a LAG alumni day. LAG alumni day.
You're their beau.
That's true. No, and I think it's funny, and I was like, oh yeah, this it's like, oh good, yeah, and so your founding president is actually a giant trans gamer girl stereotype. Good, we did it, folks.
You need to hang a sign that everyone touches or something.
Yeah, and it's no, and I was like, yeah, so
she's like a champion today.
2-4 border trans, and it was a very of the historical. No, it was good actually, and it's funny because one of the other members of our house actually works for Blizzard now.
Wow.
Yeah, she's great.
Really?
Yeah, June's so nice. But anyways, so back to college football, because as much as I love waxing, but so growing up, do you want to go to break? Let's go to break and we'll come back with this. I think this.
Oh, you want to go? All right, we're gonna break. Yeah, we're gonna take it back. We're gonna take it back to break. But Brandon Alexander, president of the Legion of Allegheny Gamers, we're gonna be in contact with you because the piece of the history of LAG is on this podcast, and I think that she should be recognized. Hashtag just saying. I'm Karleigh. She's Chelsea. She's Shauna with the Gridiron Girls. We'll be back for the last call. Stay with us.
I don't know what's worse, that you're gonna at least tease the segment, or you woke me up from a nap, or that Southern lost to Alcorn. What a nightmare. 44-21. Really, Southern, really? Do you know what this means? This means that we can kiss the SWAC championship goodbye. Unless we can beat Prairie View, beat Grambling, and Alcorn's got to become clumps in the litter box and lose their last 2 games. And then we might get another shot at Florida A&M. Well, we'll do our part this week. 35-10 over Prairie View. You can mark it down. And even more bad news. The Panthers, they always found a way to lose. They played the Thursday night game. And they lost to the Bears because Eddie Pinheiro couldn't hit a 59-yarder. I could hit that.
Kirby, no, you couldn't.
Yes, I could. I'm a cat, and cats can do anything.
Well, I can see you're a grumpy kitty.
You'd be grumpy too if you're seeing your teams go down.
What about the rest of the picks?
Well, Bengals Texans. Joe Burrow. He makes me happy. They're gonna beat the Texans 34-30.
Kitty, what about CJ Stroud?
So, Joe Burrow's gonna get it done. Jaguars 49ers. There's gonna be another cat team in the playoffs. Because the Jaguars are gonna beat the 49ers 33-24 and keep rolling. In the AFC, it'll be the Bengals and the Jaguars. Cats. That's right, cats. And oh, my NFC team, my NFC Cats, the Lions take on the Chargers. They're gonna win that one 26-23. Karleigh, just think. 3 cat teams in the playoffs. It's looking good right now.
Kirby, why are you looking at me?
Aren't you forgetting something?
What?
Iowa 10, Northwestern 7. You know what to do.
You're really gonna make me do this?
Yeah.
Meow 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 meow.
Really, Karleigh? Really? Don't quit that day job.
And welcome back to the Gridiron Girls podcast. Karleigh Webb, Chelsea Poe, Shauna Atkinson, and we're at that beautiful time of the podcast. Time for the last call. Shauna, you're up front and you got a story to tell.
So, growing up, I was raised in a gigantic University of Alabama home. My father was the biggest Roll Tide Bama fan. Like, literally, my wallpaper growing up was elephants playing different sports. So I grew up around sports and around this red and white, like, color scheme my whole life from my childhood. And, and you'd think that I'd be, like, here, like this, I'd always be showing up in my black and white, but that's not really, like, you just can't do it. I've thought about it and I've debated because, I always hear you two talk a lot about, like, your historical, like, going back, this lifelong passion that is football. It's a family thing for you. And at the end of the day, being estranged from my father and being, like, having those disconnections, I've thought, and I just don't think I can do it. I can't in good faith root for Alabama. And that's even aside from all of, like, the socio-political aspects that take place at that university, which is a whole nother situation for another day, but it's still valid. And so, yeah, like, I don't know who to root for. Like, I was talking to my partner the other day, and, like, he's a big University of Florida fan. And he was like, well, why don't you just root for Florida? And I'm like, well, maybe, like, I could do it. I'm like, that's also how I rooted for the Steelers for a couple of years, and we don't talk about that time. So I'm like, I don't know. Like, it's a real, like, yeah, like, hashtag rooting for the Steelers is my kink. It was a very strange time for me. But, so I don't know what to do with this, like, what to do with my college fandom. Like, there's, like, I feel like I ought to root for Ohio State just for being in the state, the natural, like, competitive rivalry with Chelsea, because I can't just root for Michigan. Like, it's almost too easy to root for Michigan.
Proposal for you.
Okay.
Go full evil. Be an Auburn fan.
Ooh, that's gross.
That's amazing.
Whoa!
I don't know if I can do that. That is the chaotic. That is, like, actually, I think that's lawful.
That's chaotic evil.
Yeah. No, like, chaotic evil is becoming a Notre Dame fan. lawful evil.
I'd be really disappointed in you.
Yeah, see, exactly. No, that's literally like what my partner said. He was like, yeah, he's like, I don't know. Like, I was like, if I root for Alabama, and he was like, I don't know. Let's not talk about that future. And I was like, that's a good point. Because it's just such a weird, like, they're so the evil empire. They're the bad guys of college football. But like, it's not even in a fun way. It's just like, and I think that's just it. Is like, if I'm going to be like rooting for the big bad, I want to be having fun with it, and I just don't think Alabama's that team for me.
Well, Chelsea, what's your final call for this weekend? From the looks of things, it's going. This one gets a little serious.
It does get a little serious.
I was hoping we'd have an answer.
Okay.
I'm just gonna have to wait for next week. Or,
okay.
Like, I'm just gonna like, think about this.
I can give you a mini answer. I can give you 3.
Okay.
Auburn is the chaotic answer. If you want pure revenge, you're like, fuck my family. They're wrong. Locally, you could be a Cincinnati fan.
See, I feel even less allegiance to Cincinnati than I do Columbus. Like,
how about West Virginia?
See, the same thing though. Like, I just feel like I have no like. It's so like because at least with like a city that has like a sports team in other areas, I could be like, oh, like I like the city of Philadelphia, or like why I've been rooting for like the Aces, like from Las Vegas.
Wait a minute.
Like
you are rocking purple. You are rocking purple hair. Root for Northwestern. I just sang for them on Kirby's Corner. God dang it!
That's true.
Maybe don't do that. Okay, just on a fun level. USC, beautiful weather. If you're ever a fan of them, you have an excuse to do something in LA. That's fun.
That's true.
Also,
I do love LA.
Their cheerleading outfits.
I'm an LA girly.
The song girls.
Yeah. They're like their aesthetic is so good, and it's like all like LA preppy. Very great. I think any of those 3 or 4, I think those are real options. Just give it time, but I could see the Auburn thing. That would be amazing.
That's just evil.
Yeah.
It's just weird. Like, and I was like, oh, I could just be like, I'll just root for like Washington this year, and I'm like, no.
I feel like college football's not about the year though. It's like
that's true. Maybe the answer is I just like I see, but actually I think the real, like, as much as Auburn would be like a familial fuck you, I think becoming an actual Ohio State fan would also be. I think is arguably just as much, because like that
you're not toxic enough.
That's true. No, like I am not like that is not my kind of thing.
That's why you should root for Northwestern.
So yeah, all right, we'll keep this in mind for the future. So that's my last thought for the evening.
Yeah. So mine is pretty heavy this week. Obviously, we've all seen the horrific things that have been going on in Gaza and Israel over the last month now. And the UN concluded that war crimes may have been committed in the latest explosion of violence. So I think what the IOC should do right now, I think we need to start conversations around restricting Israel being part of the 2022 Olympics in Paris this coming year. So I was doing some research today because I was like, what's kind of precedent for that? And I'm like, maybe there's 1 or 2 countries that were ever banned from the Olympics, or their athletes were just competing under a different banner. Apparently, this happens a lot more than I thought. So here's a list of some countries that were restricted during times: Germany, Austria, Hungary, Turkey, Afghanistan, Rhodesia, Japan, Russia, Kuwait, India, and South Africa. I think we've really seen in the past how much sports can shape global politics. I think the IOC, even just having this conversation, could really save lives during this ongoing genocide by just beginning this conversation. Not even just saying, we're going to not allow Israel to be represented in this way or that way. I think just even having the conversation is something that is definitely going to be important. And I think it could really stop, or at least maybe make the Israeli government reconsider some of their actions.
Looking at the IOC's role, and obviously, like, we're all familiar in our own ways, and how the Olympics are a political vessel, and it'll be very, and I think that I am not optimistic that will happen, whether it should or shouldn't. And I think that's something that we are going to be grappling with as as a world, the events of the past, of this time period. And so I'm definitely, I don't think we're going to see the ramifications or where we're going to look back on yet. And I would imagine that the IOC will wish they have acted, but I don't think they're going to.
Completely agree. I just think even people having this conversation could maybe push the needle at least a little bit. That's kind of my hopes, but I really don't believe the IOC is going to do the right thing, because they never really do.
And at the end of the day, thinking about how, the history, I remember, I was in high school when the Iraq War started. And, I remember, going and, protesting in Washington for it, and thinking about, those kinds of political actions, and how, I just can't help but see a certain kind of similarity in those, in those situations.
What's needed in that I'm not going to get too deep into my feelings on that right now, but I am going to say this, is that there are no winners in this. Nope. Because right now people are being hurt, people are being killed, and ultimately eventually, I'm thinking Doctor Who right now. Eventually, people are going to have to stop shooting, sit down, and talk.
Yeah,
that's what has to happen. A ceasefire must happen.
Absolutely.
And I'm not going to say right now. I have definite feelings about what's happening. One day I'll share them. But at this moment, what needs to happen is everybody needs to put guns down. Hamas needs to stop firing rockets. Israel needs to stop bombing. Sit down and talk. This has gone too far. That's my feeling on it. And if it takes a football match to do that, hell, if it takes a video game turn to do something, I don't know, but people got to sit down and talk. My final call this week, however, is lighter, but weighty as well. Once upon a time, there was a dream called New Hope, and there was a spot called the Raven. The Raven was a resort that was put in this little town, this little quaint community at the banks of the Delaware River, at the border between Pennsylvania and New Jersey. The Raven was a gay resort that had been around since the late 1950s. And it grew to be a beautiful place. And within that beautiful place, around 2009, a woman of trans experience from Philadelphia named Jennifer Bryant had an idea. What if we use this place as a place for trans people, especially transgender women, to come together and be themselves? Or for those who are undecided and investigating, to be themselves. It began with a weekend at this place, and the first one of its type, maybe 10 people showed up. But word of mouth spread, and it grew and it grew and it grew to become a happening that people throughout the region and people as far away as Europe and Brazil would come to once it really got rolling. It was a place for some just to let their hair down, and for some others, find who they are. I know about finding who I am because those weekends and those gatherings helped me find out who I was. Those gatherings ended when the Raven closed in 2020. It's part of the old gay resort. This epic, iconic place is a parking lot now. Last weekend, I got to see that parking lot. I got to be in New Hope again. I got to see those memories because an enterprising filmmaker named Hanson Bursich heard about this story and said, I want to tell this story. Young queer filmmaker, grew up in Pittsburgh, based in Philadelphia, lives in LA now, came back to tell this story about how these gatherings took place and what it meant. The documentary film was called Trans Heaven, Pennsylvania. And I was honored to be a part of it and honored to be interviewed for it. And last weekend, I was honored to actually get to see it unveiled at a film festival called Queer Cuts. Creative Hope Initiative, thank you. IPG Media Brands, Trevor's 32, thank you as well for putting up the funding for this film and 4 other films that looked intensely into history of this special town, this place, this queer oasis called New Hope, Pennsylvania. And these 5 films are going to be debuted online within the next few weeks from what I hear. If you get an opportunity, see them. It was great being back. It was great walking those streets again, streets that I walked many a time as my egg was cracking. And after it cracked, and after I stepped out in the world and affirmed my own truth. Those weekends were a launching point for me, as was that town. And this story is something that, at one level, our community needs to see because this is a piece of our history. This movie was a piece of our history, just like the other works. The common denominator, queer filmmakers telling queer stories their way. And those storytellers matter. And those stories matter. Not just to those of us who are in the community, but for those of us who are outside of it, but want to learn more. It is my hope that the movie I was blessed to be a part of, Trans Heaven, Pennsylvania, and all these films get to as many festivals as possible. And perhaps they win awards, but most importantly, I want these movies to go in front of as many eyes as possible. Because the best way to deal with the prejudice and the bigotry of some is light, love, and knowledge. And those often come from just sitting back, sitting down, and hearing someone's story. Stories matter, storytellers matter. And I was glad to be a part of this one. And that's the Gridiron Girls for this week. And just a reminder, we got stories to tell as well. And we like telling them, and we like sharing them, and we like the fact that you share your time with us. So if there's anything you want to see, someone you want to see, story that we're missing, something you want to say about what we're doing, hit that comments page here at YouTube. Go to our comments pages at our Instagram presence, and go to us on Twitter at Gridiron Girls KCS, because we want to hear your story and we want to hear what you think. Because everything we do here at the Gridiron Girls, we do for all of you, the people who support us, the people who download us, the people who watch us, and we appreciate it 100%. That's the Gridiron Girls for this week. I'm Karleigh Chardonnay Webb.
Ich bin Chelsea Poe.
And I'm Shauna Atkinson.
Thank you for joining us this week. Enjoy the games. We'll see you next week.